modulation techniques. The modulation techniques which we are going to discuss in this module is phase shift keying techniques, that is binary phase shift keying, quadrature phase shift keying, then differential phase shift keying and frequency shift keying techniques. So first we will start with the binary phase shift keying. So as the name itself indicates, it is a binary phase shift keying technique, that is only two symbols are used, that is 1 and 0. 1 and 0 are modulated as shown in the PPT, that is S1 of t is equal to root of 2 EB by TB cos 2 pi FCT, and the symbol duration is TB, that is 0 to TB seconds. Then S2 of t is equal to root of 2 EB by TB cos 2 pi FCT plus pi, that is for representation of 0 we are using this S2 of t. So S1 of t is used to represent 1 and S2 of t is used to represent 0. Now here a pair of sinusoidal waves that differ only in the phase shift of 180 degree is used. So these signals are also known as antipodal signals. Now the signal space diagram of binary phase shift keying. So as we all know that the signal is represented by the basis functions. So in this binary phase shift keying, only one basis function is used, that is phi 1 of t is equal to root of 2 by TB cos 2 pi FCT. So we can write S1 of t in terms of basis function as root of EB into phi 1 of t and S2 of t as root of EB into phi 1 of t. So as you all know, Si of t is equal to Sij into phi j of t summation. So here we can write it as S11 is root EB and S21 is minus root EB. So here it is represented in terms of basis functions. So the signal space diagram is shown here. So whatever we have drawn with the dotted line is nothing but a decision boundary. There are two regions, region 1 and region 2. As you know that n is equal to 1 means only one basis function, therefore it is a one dimensional. Now there are two regions related to, region 1 is related to message point 1, that is root EB, and region 2 is related to message point 2 minus root EB. Now this is in the figure it is shown that how to represent the S1 of t and S2 of t. So both are varying in a phase shift of 180 degree. That is, there is a 180 degree phase shift between the S1 of 2 and S2 of 2. Now how to generate the binary phase shift keying, that is how to generate the signal S1 of t and S2 of t. So first block diagram it is shown, it is polar non-return to 0 level encoder. We have seen the line codes how to represent a binary signals. So in a polar non-return to 0, 1 is represented by plus root EB and 0 is represented by minus root EB respectively. Now next is product modulator, that is simply we are going to multiply whatever the output of the product polar non-return to 0 we have to multiply with the basis function phi 1 of t, that is phi 1 of t is equal to root of 2 by TB cos 2 pi FCT. So this is how we are going to generate the Si of t. So here Si of t is only S1 of t and S2 of t. Next is how to find out the error probability of binary phase shift keying using the coherent detection. So first we will talk about how to detect the signal, that is when we receive a x of t, we know that what is x of t. X of t is a received signal which is corrupted by the additive white Gaussian noise, because we are passing the signal Si of t through a channel. When Si of t gets added with the noise and we are going to receive x of t. So to make an optimum decision on the received signal in favor of 1 and 0, we assume that the receiver has access to the locally generated carrier, that is it has the information about the function phi 1 of t. That is, it is knowing what is the carrier which is used at the transmitter side. Therefore, it is known as coherent detection. That is, whatever the signals we have used at the transmitter side, that will be known at the receiver side. So here it is in other words, we can say that the receiver is synchronized with the transmitter as shown in the block diagram. Now the first block in the receiver part is correlator. What we are going to do is, we are going to multiply x of t with the basis function phi 1 of t. Phi 1 of t is nothing but root of 2 by tb cos 2 pi fct. Now here correlator, again once we just multiply with phi 1 of t and when integrate over 0 to tb, then we are going to get a coefficient x1. x1 is the received vector. So then it is sent over a decision device. Decision device is set to a threshold of 0. That is, if x1 of t is greater than 0, then the decision is taken as symbol 1 is sent. If the x1 of t is less than 0, the decision is taken that symbol 0 is sent. So it has the x1 of t, after x1 of t, in which region it lies. If it lies in z1, the decision is taken as 1. If it lies in z2, the decision is taken as 0. Now here, so if at all whatever the noise is getting added to the signal, so if it corrupts the signal, for example, if 1 becomes 0 and 0 becomes 1, that is, the noise will get added to the signal and it will corrupt the signal. So in that case, how to deal? That is, two decision regions are marked, z1 and z2. So there may be two kinds of error may happen. One error is signal S2 is transmitted, that is, S2 is nothing but 0 is transmitted, but the noise is such that the received signal may point in the region of z1. So the receiver decides that 1 is sent. Okay, this is one kind of error. Then second kind of error is signal S1 will be transmitted, but the noise is such that the received signal will fall in the region of z2. It means that the receiver takes the decision in favor of S2, that is 0. So now to calculate the probability of error, what we have to do is, so we will just first calculate the probability of first kind, that is, if S2 is transmitted but decision is taken in favor of S1. So what is the region of S1, that is Z1? It lies between 0 to infinity. So any signal which lies between 0 to infinity, it is assumed that it is 1. The decision is taken in favor of 1. Now here it is observed that